Well, guys, things are heating up over at Google. Everyone is terrified of AI replacing them, replacing their jobs, and I think there's a lot of legitimate concerns there. And 4,500 Googlers, Google employees, signed a petition and delivered it to the CEO Sundar Pichai's office. And the president of the Alphabet Workers Union said, quote, "Make no mistake, this is a company that is enjoying massive, unprecedented success. These layoffs and cuts are not difficult decisions, but simply profit being put over people that make this company run," end quote. Wow, shots fired from the workers union over at Google. And today we're gonna kind of cover exactly what they want. We're gonna kind of examine, are these legitimate concerns or are they just being babies? We're gonna talk about that. And I wanna hear your opinions in the comments if you have an insider. One of the things I love about running this channel too, guys, is people that work at these organizations actually leave comments below. And if you have a great comment, if you have a great inside account, leave it below. I will pin you if it is good, because at the end of the day, what I care about is figuring out what exactly is going on so that guys like you and me can actually remain relevant, respected, and have some sort of financial freedom in this new AI-driven world. So anyway, he has a valid point, I think, because the reality is that Google's valuation has now reached $4 trillion and it is quadrupled over the past 6 years. And well, the pressure for employees to perform has increased dramatically over the last couple of years. One of the things that we've covered on the channel quite a bit is CEOs of companies are basically saying, yeah, AI does work better than employees, so we're just gonna lay off half of our staff. We've seen this happen at Salesforce, at Klarna, we've seen this happen at ClickUp, we've seen it happen at a bunch of different companies, okay? And what's kind of funny is the way that CEOs are kind of saying, oh, maybe we shot ourselves in the foot. We'll kind of cover that in a little bit more detail in just a moment, if you stay tuned. Regardless, employees all across big tech, and not just big tech, I think big tech is kind of the epicenter of the AI-driven layoffs. We've seen that big tech is the #1 loss leader when it comes to layoffs this year. It's where the most layoffs are happening, A, and B, the #1 reason companies are giving for layoffs this year is AI. So they're kind of at the epicenter, but make no mistake, this is not, the issue of job displacement is not just localized to big tech. This is happening all across industry. We've looked at it at all sorts of different companies over the past several months. And regardless, AI has been given as frequently a major reason. And the reality is that employees all across big tech are very frustrated by this massive push toward AI and micromanaging systems. The idea that every click, every mouse, every screen you look at is tracked, and if you don't click enough buttons enough time, well, you could be hitting the road, which is, I don't think I could work like that. Could you work in a place where someone is looking over your shoulder 24/7, 365, measuring the amount of clicks? I couldn't operate that way. I need a little bit more autonomy. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why I think the best way to navigate this tumultuous time is build a side hustle, build a business, figure out how to create your own additional sources of income. I was in the insurance industry for about 10 years. I left that job about half a decade ago, about 6 years ago, to run marketing, production agency, media, and I'm very thankful that I did, because it gives me more freedom and autonomy over myself. I appreciate that. Anyway, regardless, the people don't like being micromanaged. And quite frankly, just a couple of days ago, we covered a lawsuit against Meta, accusing them of using AI systems to make firing decisions, which they claim violated federal and state law. We covered that. I'll post a link to the entire video here. But what we're seeing here over at Google is actually quite similar to what we saw at Meta. What do these Googlers want though? What do they want? Not exactly an end to AI. They're not just saying no more AI, which quite frankly would have been a pretty stupid thing to say. These guys are, I mean, let's face it, if you're working at Google, you're probably quite close to a genius. Very, 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 very smart. And we covered a story a couple of years ago where SAG-AFTRA, which is a union for screenwriters and copywriters and playwrights, and basically an actors guild, were demanding no AI in movie production and film production. They don't want it. We don't want AI music or AI. Guys, you're never going to win that fight. And I think what the Googlers are doing here is quite a bit smarter, more intelligent, okay? And so what do they say? Well, they want a few different things. They want, quote, or they want guaranteed severance, which is kind of comparable to Google's January 2023 package. They want voluntary buyouts before involuntary layoffs in every division, which actually is really similar to what Microsoft recently did. And I'll post a link to that video here because Microsoft recently announced voluntary buyouts. And I believe the number was 9,000 people scooped that up. The people that didn't scoop that up ended up getting caught up in a layoff a little bit later, where 4,200 essentially Xbox employees were laid off. At any rate, the Googlers want those voluntary buyouts. They want the ability to take severance as extended paid leave, allowing employees to remain on payroll longer while searching for work. So they want a little bit on the back end, a little bit of safety net on the back end. I respect that. I think that's very reasonable. And they want an end to forced performance rating distributions under Google's grad review system. So let's talk about, I think it merits talking about the grad review system just a little bit, because on its face, you really need to have some sort of objective, standardized rating system, especially when you're at a business of this scale. I mean, think about it this way. You go back to school, A's, B's, C's, D's. Do you get the answers right? You get a better grade. Or if you don't, you get a worse grade. But what the Googlers don't like is that there is essentially a forced rating system. You can only have so many people in the different 5 tiers of the system. So, for example, you might have 2%, and then 2% of employees are capped in the top tier, 15% in the second tier. Even if you are accomplishing the same amount of tasks, even if you're just as productive as people at 2%, well, you might not fit because there might not be enough slots. It actually kind of reminds me of the way that kids are rated these days. There's a standard distribution, and only a certain percentage of kids can be at the different tiers. And that's essentially what they don't like. And basically they're saying, hey, if I reach the certain amount of criteria to be in this top tier, I should be in the top tier. I shouldn't be knocked out because there's already too many heads there. And we'll see how that plays out. Quite frankly, I don't have a strong feeling about it. I think, it makes sense. And the general rule in business is like, you're gonna have a certain 2% at the top, 2% at the bottom. Then you're gonna have 25% in between that. You're gonna have these different statistics and percentages of employees that fall in different lines. And there's, I can't remember the company. I want to say it was Ford to say, hey, we're just going to fire the bottom 10% of performers every year. Even if you're doing a decent job, if you're in the bottom 10%, you're going to get let go. And as an employee, I would hate that. As an employer, I understand it. I get it. And by the way, guys, I just want to say this is one of the benefits of having your own business and having your own side hustle and leveraging these AI tools. I don't think there's ever been a better time to start your own business. And by the way, I'm not here to sell you on buying my course to start your own business. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying that it worked out pretty well for me. And it's just like the amount of problems that are being created these days, the amount of companies that need help. Once you get started, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And quite frankly, if you work at Google, you're probably a genius. You could get work just about anywhere. But what I think is really interesting about this story is not necessarily that the union wants more rights for their workers. That's kind of a story as old as time. Like that's a kind of a normal thing. But what I think is really interesting here is how badly these big tech CEOs screwed up their messaging. These guys for months, if not years now, have been saying that AI is going to replace all the jobs and we're not going to need humans anymore, and it's going to be all robots. I remember Elon Musk saying there's a 10% chance that AI blows up the world, but it's probably worth pursuing, which is a completely insane comment to make. As much as I love Elon, bro, that is an insane thing to say. And you've got guys like Sam Altman going out and saying like 50% of jobs are going to be automated. And so basically what you guys did was you scared your employees and the public so badly that everyone is freaked out about AI. Nobody wants it anymore. And by the way, I'm extremely pro AI. I think AI is amazing. I think it does some amazing things. I think it creates a lot of interesting problems and quite frankly, some really bad problems. But I think AI on its face is pretty exciting, and I think we're gonna be able to build and create some amazing things with AI. That said, these big CEOs just completely screwed the pooch. And we covered this in a story a couple days ago. Post a link to the video here, where all these big CEOs have completely flip-flopped, where they were saying AI is the worst and AI is gonna replace all your jobs. Now they're saying AI is gonna make you more productive and you're gonna make a lot more money and we're gonna need more jobs. So it's just interesting that they've completely about-faced. And one of the things that you guys have been saying for a long time here on the channel, which I respect and I read, is that these CEOs were, they don't tell the truth. They're just putting a PR spin on things, which I think I get where you're coming from. And you made this point that, well, they're just saying this so that they get a stock bump. And there have been times where that's happened. Guys, we're replacing jobs with AI because our AI is so good, it's so advanced, so productive, stock bump. But what you fail to realize is that short-term gain has led into massive long-term pain. And Google is just the next one in the ring to feel that. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. What do you think about this Alphabet petition? Will anything come of it? Are these legit concerns? Are they just being babies about it? Are we going to see more petitions and more lawsuits against companies that are using AI and review systems and wanting more, more protections for labor during this time? What do you think? Put it in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And again, if you've got a good comment, I'll pin you to the top. I've done it in the past, I'll do it in the future. And if you enjoyed today's video, like, subscribe, and check out yesterday's video. Yesterday we talked about Trump accounts, and please don't get triggered. I could care less who the president is. What I care about is where can you get more opportunities to make more money. And the Trump accounts are pretty interesting. If you've got kids and you haven't even considered Trump accounts, you probably should, because get this, there are 25 million Americans that are eligible for a 100% free $1,000 investment, 100% free. You don't have to put in a dime. You get a free $1,000. There's 25 million Americans that are eligible. Are you eligible? Check out yesterday's video to find out. I'll see you there. Peace.